Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video, this fun teacup drawing. Very cute, very cozy, so very simple as well. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so if you join us there, you get access to exclusive tutorials as well as sneak peeks to what we're drawing over here on YouTube. So that's linked in the description below if you'd like to check that out. Here are some of the drawings that we've been doing lately over there. But before we get started on today's drawing, the only thing you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just save the file to your iPad and then double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the drawing today. Other than that, we use all standard brushes and everything. So then I will post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen here and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we'll get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today, so let's just go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead and start with our background. We're just going to draw it all on one layer, so we'll just be on layer 1 here. We'll grab our first color on the first row of the color palette and drag and drop it to fill our whole canvas. And then still on this layer, we're just going to add a little bit of texture to it to start. So we're going to grab our second color on the top row. And then our main brush that we're going to be using today is going to be the jagged brush under the painting category. I have my opacity set to like 90. We'll set our size pretty high to like 10 to 15%, somewhere in there. And we're just going to kind of make some quick like streaking through the background like horizontally. Nothing too detailed, nothing too crazy. Just to add some variation for our background, but we won't see much of it with everything going on. Okay, easy enough. Let's go ahead and move on now to our little tabletop that our teacup will be sitting on. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Let's grab our third color on the top row. Let's grab our selection tool. We'll set it to rectangle and turn on color fill. And then we're just going to draw starting on the bottom left outside of our canvas. I'm going to draw up and across until we cover maybe a quarter to a third of the bottom of our canvas, and then go ahead and let that go. So that'll be our tabletop. Let's go ahead and on this layer on our layer menu, just click on it and turn on alpha lock so we can add some more streaking. So then we have 3 more colors after this of our brown. So we have a lighter, a darker, and then a much darker. The much darker is going to be for our shadow underneath our teacup once we have it in place, so we won't use that yet. We'll just use the lighter and slightly darker versions. So we'll start with the lighter one, fourth one on the top row. Same brush, maybe we'll lower the size a little bit to like 7 or 8%, but still pretty big. And again, working horizontally, we'll just add some of this through the tabletop. Get some good variation going, like so. Then we'll switch to our darker color, fifth one on the top row, and we'll do kind of the same thing here, just adding in some more variation with this darker color in horizontal motions. Beautiful. And that's going to be kind of like the name of the game this whole time. We're going to keep using that brush, adding some good texture and stuff. We'll be a little more detailed when we get to the teacup, adding like shadows and highlights and stuff. But for the most part, it'll be pretty fun and simple like that was. So let's just keep on moving along. We're going to go ahead and start, and we're actually going to draw like our tea or coffee, whichever one you want it to be, inside. So the little oval that we'll use for that. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Let's grab our first color on the second row. And let's switch to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. My opacity is at 100. My size, let's do like 30. And just like maybe about halfway through the canvas here from top to bottom, I'm going to start with a good horizontal oval. Hold that down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Kind of whatever size it's at is fine, just as long as it's horizontal here. Okay, don't fill it in yet. We'll grab it with our arrow tool on uniform or freeform if you need to change like the shape of it. But I want it to be a good size, maybe like this. Our teacup will go around it. And then we need room for like our handle on the left side and stuff. So maybe about a size like this, kind of in the middle. I'm probably going to center it. So let's just turn on snapping in our bottom left here and center it on our center yellow line from left to right. So the vertical one. If we center from top to bottom, I think we'll be a little too low. So we want, if this is like center top to bottom, we want to be a good ways above that, maybe about here. Okay, and before we fill it in, let's just go ahead and make a duplicate. We're going to use this as a guide for our next layer. So slide to left and hit duplicate. The top one here, let's just turn that off, and that one we'll use as our guide later. Let's go back to our bottom one here that's still turned on, and we can fill this one in. So that's our coffee or tea, whichever one you prefer. And we'll add some details to that in a little bit, but let's get the rest of our teacup going here. So on our layer menu, let's go ahead and turn this top one back on. We won't really see it because it's like the same color and everything, but click on it and turn on alpha lock. And let's just go ahead and set it to like this really dark brown color. So find that dark brown color on the top row, 6th in line, go back to our layer menu, click on this layer and click fill layer. So now we can kind of see it a little bit better. Okay, we'll grab it with our arrow tool and we'll just move straight up on this line here a little bit. So just create like a little gap there, still centered on our vertical yellow line. Beautiful. Now we're going to go to our layer menu and add a new layer above this one where we'll actually draw the scalloped edge, and we're going to turn on symmetry for this. So under our gear icon, under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, click edit drawing guide, set it to symmetry, and then if you should see a vertical line here, if you don't, just click on vertical under the options here and go ahead and click done. Then on our layer menu, this layer you're on should say assisted. If it doesn't, just click on it and turn on drawing assist. And then let's grab our first gold color to make our gold edge, which is going to be the 6th color on the second row. Same monoline brush at 30%. So we're just going to start right on the symmetry line here, and we're just going to draw like a curved line up and back down to our oval, like so. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Click the edit arc button at the top if you need to adjust it. So I kind of want it to start in the middle and go maybe 2/3 of the way to the edge. So somewhere like there, so covering about 2/3 of it, because we're going to have 6 total. So then we'll have one that goes around and loops to this side and then one back to the middle on the bottom. So right about there, but again, just a good curve, nothing too crazy. Boom. Next one, now we're going to start right at this point and come back around like this essentially on the edge. Hold that down as well. Click this edit ellipse or edit arc at the top to adjust it. But yeah, we just kind of want it to come back around and meet up with our oval on the other side, or as close as to it as you can get. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm like a little bit above my oval on the bottom, but I think that's fine. So it's a little skinnier. Okay, and then we'll start at that point and we will come back to the center again, hold it down, get a good arc, adjust it if you need to. I might just need to redraw mine entirely, get a better one. Again, I might end a little bit above my oval, just like I did with my previous one. That's okay. As long as everything looks good and connected, we can move on. So that is the start of our little swoopy piece. So before we go too far, I'm going to make a duplicate of this for our bottom so that it's the same. So our little plate at the bottom will be the same shape. So on our layer menu, so that we don't have to keep redrawing it, I'm going to make a duplicate of this. I'm going to probably just drag it all the way down right above my tabletop, and then I'm just going to turn it off for now, and we'll come back to that later. So then back to our one on the top, I'm going to, again, make another duplicate of it just so that we can make it longer. So we'll slide to the left and hit duplicate. Arrow tool, I'm going to drag it straight down a little bit. Okay, symmetry still turned on. I'm just going to use my brush and connect them on the side. So right here, just a little quick line on the side to connect them. Then we want to fill this in, but they're on separate layers, so we just need to go to our layer menu, snap them both together, and then we can fill in this top and bottom area, and that gives us our gold edge. So then we can go to our layer menu and we can just delete this previous line, black line layer that was our guide. And that looks beautiful. So now we can just continue on and draw the rest of our teacup. So we can draw like this, fill in like this back side and then the front side as well. So let's just keep on going. So to do our back side, we're going to be below our coffee and below our like gold layer. So let's just add a layer right above our like little duplicate that we have waiting down at the bottom here. So we're right below our T layer. We're going to grab our second color on the last row and our monoline brush. And I'm just going to essentially create a shape behind this to fill in, so we can fill in this blank area here. Make sure you're zoomed out so you can see it all. And I'm just going to start maybe here, and I'm going to follow this, follow it under the coffee, back up on the other side, back to the middle, and then we can fill that in. So something like that to get a shape filled in behind that. Okay, then we'll make the front of our teacup. So that'll be above our coffee layer, but below our gold line, below our gold scalloped layer. So add a layer right in there, and we're going to turn on symmetry. So click on it and turn on drawing assist. Grab our first color on the last row, the lighter one, and we will draw our teacup now. So just starting on the right or left side, whichever one you prefer, just right where this gold piece ends, I'm going to kind of do a curve down towards the middle. So just kind of right in the middle or upper part of the tabletop, I curved all the way in there, held it down, click the arc button at the top if you need to adjust it. But yeah, we want it to come in quite a bit at the bottom. Good curve on the side, connect nicely to our gold piece up here. So just kind of something like that. Again, curve in as much as you would like to, like get pretty skinny at the bottom there. Then we want to kind of have another like oval at the bottom here, a pretty skinny one. So I'm just going to start right on this edge here at the bottom and just draw an oval all the way around. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect oval. Resize it a little bit. And obviously, like, there's two of them because we're on symmetry, so just click the ellipse button at the top, and we can just kind of like, we just want a slight curve at the bottom is all. So I'm just going to kind of move this around until it connects them with a slight curve there. That looks great. Now we still need to connect underneath our gold over our T to the middle. So I'm going to start at the top here and just kind of go under my gold to the middle. Symmetry's turned on, so that should connect our whole shape so we can fill it in. Fill in these little bottom pieces as well. And now we should be all filled in right there. That looks great. While we're here, I guess let's just keep drawing shapes until we get everything done. And then we can go through and do all of our texture and shadows and coloring and all that good stuff. So on our layer menu, let's just go ahead and add the handle. Let's just add that to the top of everything. So a new layer at the very top, no drawing assist. Let's grab our first gold color again, sixth one on the second row. And our handle will just be on the left or right side, whichever you choose. And I'm going to start a little ways down from the top here and just kind of right on the side. I'm going to kind of make the curve up to kind of start it there. So this is where it like attaches to the cup. Then we're going to come off the top. We're going to round a little bit. Come back in pretty close to the cup, make a little swoopy, something like that. So that's kind of the general shape of it. I'm going to do it again much better now, hopefully. So again, off the cup, back to the cup, or close to it. We'll curve away to make a little cute little end. And then we'll curve back in and make sure we for sure touch the cup there. Then we'll kind of mirror the shape going back to connect to the beginning. Fill that in. And then I can kind of smooth it out in places. So I'll just kind of go through and smooth everything out with either your pen or your eraser. If you get anything like too thick, you can go in with your eraser on the monoline brush and kind of smooth things back out a little bit. Whatever works. Okay, that looks great. Very, very cute. I might make it a smidge bigger. So I'm going to grab it with my arrow tool and just make it a smidge bigger down that side there, like so. And I just kind of thickened it as well so it has like a little more presence. So that looks great. Okay, now we just need the bottom of the cup. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer right above our little kind of hidden layer at the bottom here that we're waiting on. So we're below all of our other teacup layers. Let's go ahead and click on this layer and turn on drawing assist again. And same gold color. We're going to start at the bottom here. And I'm just going to create another kind of oval. Even though symmetry's turned on, I'm just a little ways away from my teacup. I'm going to do a nice flat horizontal oval. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. click the edit ellipse button at the top and just kind of adjust it. But yeah, again, just like a little wider than the base of my teacup here. And then I'm just going to bring it right about here so that the bottom of it is a little ways away. Okay, then we're just going to connect with like a straight or slightly curved line to the base of the teacup there. Connect it across the top and fill everything in. So I hope that makes sense there. That's our bottom of our teacup. That looks beautiful. We don't have quite enough room for our plate. Everything got a little bit too big, so I'm just going to adjust things. So I'm just going to grab all my teacup layers so far. So I have my base selected. I'll slide right on all my other teacup layers. Arrow tool on uniform. I'm just going to downsize the whole thing. Or you can even do freeform if you want to like stretch it out, or like, you know, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to keep it lined up on the center there as best as I can. But I think we're probably done with symmetry anyway, so no big deal if yours is a little off. Because it's hard to center it with the handle, because the handle kind of throws it off. But I just try to center this like middle point of my scallops at the top. But again, whatever works. But there we go. We have a little bit more room at the bottom now. So do that if you need to. That looks great. Then on our layer menu, let's go ahead and make our plate underneath. So let's go ahead and turn back on this bottom scalloped layer here. Grab it with our arrow tool on uniform. Gonna drag it down here quite a bit, make it quite a bit bigger, and kind of place it underneath my teacup here, centered on our center yellow line. So the bottom little like lip that comes in is just a little bit away from my base there, not too far away. So right about there is good. Okay, so then we're just going to thicken it a little bit like we did up here. So we're going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this layer. Either one you're on is fine. Grab it with your arrow tool and move it straight down. So we get a thicker gold piece there. Use your pen, and drawing assist is turned on and we're centered. So you should be able to just draw lightly on this side here. There shouldn't be a huge gap to fill in, but just kind of fill that in with a quick line. Mine is way off. Mine is off a little bit, so it's sticking out on this side. So if that's happening to you because yours isn't quite centered, that's fine. Just go to your layer menu, click on this layer and turn drawing assist off, and then try again. Or I'm just going to use my eraser here to kind of fix up this side, but the other side looked good. So now both sides look good. We'll go to our layer menu, we'll snap our two layers together, and then we'll fill in the little in-between pieces like so. Do it a few times if you need to. Touch up any other little gaps or anything that poked up. But that should look good for your plate now. So again, I want just like a little bit more room. So I'm going to again select everything that I have now and move everything up just a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. Now we just want to fill this in, but we want to be on a new layer. So we're going to go to our layer menu and click on this gold layer with our like outline and set it to reference. Add a layer below it, so right above our tabletop layer. Grab our first color on the last row and drag and drop to fill this in. And now we're filled in on a different layer, so that looks great. Okay, go back to this layer on your layer menu and turn reference off so that that's not messing up any other filling in that we might need to do later. And then lastly, there's like one more little plate layer to make, so I'm going to make another new layer to just kind of finish off the bottom of our plate here. So again, I'm just going to go to my layer menu, make a new layer right above my tabletop again, click on it and turn on drawing assist. Same color, same brush. And I'm just going to start kind of right on the edge here, and I'm just going to kind of swoop down and then kind of swoop into the middle, something kind of like that. So maybe not quite that. So something kind of like that. So just if you want to, you can just draw really quick and get some quick lines. But again, just kind of a little shallow like bottom of the plate coming out. So we get to the middle. Touch that up if you need to. I overextended my lines a little bit, but otherwise it looks good. And then back with our pen tool, we need to make a shape to fill in. So I'm just going to start right here, connect to the center under all this other stuff, and fill it in. Again, I have like a little bit of a gap over here that I don't have on the other side. Probably my symmetry's off just a little bit. But that is like the bottom of our plate there. So it'll look a lot better once we do all the shading and stuff, but it looks kind of funny right now. Okay, so now that we have all of our pieces laid down, we can get to shading and shadowing and texturizing. So let's just start at the top. Let's just start with our gold handle. Let's click on that layer and turn on alpha lock. And so our base gold color was this sixth one on the second row. So we have a slightly darker, quite a bit darker, slightly lighter, and then this kind of gold highlight color. So we're going to use just all of those. So let's just start with our second one in. So the seventh one on the second row, and switch back to our painting brush, the jagged brush under the painting category. We'll lower our size quite a bit to maybe like 3 or 4%. And with this darker color, I'm just going to kind of start laying down some fun texture, mainly on the inside of the handle. So I kind of cut it in half and I'm doing just the whole inside closer to the teacup. So just a little bit of that. Switch to our next darker color, eighth one on the second row, and do the same thing, like in a little bit further even, to just create more of that darker color there. Boom, good texture, kind of blend it out a little bit by just going over it some more on the edges. And then we'll add some kind of highlight to it. So the next color, the ninth one on the second row, we'll add to like the other side, a little bit of highlight there. But again, just mainly to add some good texture and variation. Then we'll add our kind of goldish highlight, the last one on the second row. And so that I'm just going to add here and there. So I'm just going to kind of go through and like add some little sections of this to just kind of add that gold little bit to it to make it look kind of shiny. So adjust your brush size if you need to. I might lower mine a little bit more to like 2 to 3%. Just kind of add some of this in like so. And we'll just keep on doing that. So let's go to our next layer on our layer menu, which the next one down is the top of our teacup, the gold part again. So we'll do the same thing. Set this layer to alpha lock. Let's click on it and turn drawing assist off so that we're not doing symmetrical stuff. And again, let's start with our second darker color, the seventh one on the second row. Same brush, we'll probably go back up to like 3 or 4%. And now we're kind of going to do a little bit more structured highlights. Well, I mean, this one was structured too. It was like on the inside or shadows. So again, structured. Now we're on the back side here, so the top edge, we're going to do our darker colors in the middle of our peaks. So I'm going to kind of start and go like all the way through the middle there, kind of right through this middle part here, not touching this like front part yet. And then again, through the middle of this next peaky area and the back like middle part of that one. Then we'll switch to our darker color, still eighth one on the second row, and go right in the very middle to really deepen up those shadowy areas. Like so. Then our highlight color, ninth one on the second row, we'll kind of do on the points. So right on the points there, adjust your size if you need to. Beautiful. Then we'll do our gold color again, or our main highlight color, last one on the second row. Drop our size a little bit maybe. And this can kind of go all over, but again, I kind of want to highlight like the peaks a little bit more as well. So I'm going to do those for sure. And then we can also just add like a little bit kind of like towards the top edges here and there. Just kind of add some little like gold brightness that's catching the light or something like that. Okay, so that was kind of all on the back edge there. So I am going to now kind of move on to the front edge. So we'll do the whole thing again. So go back to our seventh color on the second row, the slightly darker one, back up to maybe 3%. And now we'll do the shadows on the peaks. So right in here, we'll see a shadow. So I'm going to do the peak and right next to it, the peak and right next to it, the peak and right next to it. Then our darker color still, eighth one on the second row, and we'll go right through the middle, really darken those up right in there. And then our lighter color, ninth one on the second row, will be the highlight, which will be kind of on the rounded parts now. So I'll highlight those rounded parts of the peaks all the way through. And then our gold again, or our yellow, last one on the second row, and kind of same thing. I'll lower my size back down a little bit. And again, we'll kind of add some nice highlighting through those like rounded parts again, right in the centers. And then we'll also just kind of add some here and there, like a little brighter. So I'm going to push a little harder, like near the rim in a couple spots. Or whatever works to get a little bit of gold going. Like so. Beautiful. That's it for our rim. Next layer down is our main teacup layer. So if you want to, I'm going to go turn off this like kind of cloud shaped one on the bottom here, just so we can see the edges a little bit better where they kind of meet there. So I'm going to turn that off. But again, we're going to be on this main teacup layer, click on it and turn Alpha Lock on, click on it and turn Drawing Assist off. And our base color for that was the first one on the last row. And then we have a slightly darker one, a slightly lighter one, a lot lighter one, and a much darker one. So we're going to use all of those now. So aside from our base color, which we used already. So let's grab our second one to start on the bottom row. Same brush. Let's have our size at like 3 or 4%. And this slightly darker one is again going to go in the peak area. So right here where it peaks together, we're going to add a shadow in there to show that it's like in caving in there, or I don't know what you would say, caving in there, you know. So kind of like almost all the way to the bottom even. We'll add a good shadow there, and then we'll deepen it up with our next darker color. But so we're going to go kind of wide on these, but kind of angling with our cup again. Beautiful. You can kind of go over them a couple times to kind of deepen it up in the center to get some more good like variation going. But that looks great. Now we'll go to our lighter color, third one on the bottom row, and we'll kind of add this in the, again, like the peaks, or, you know, the rounded parts, not the peaks. We just shadowed those. So the other ones that we didn't shadow yet. And we'll add that in all around there. We'll probably add a shadow near our handle here in a second as well, but let's just go ahead and use this color through there for now. Okay, let's go to our next color, fourth one on the bottom row, much, much lighter, and we'll go right through the very centers of these like hilled areas or curved areas, whatever you want to call them, and really brighten those up. Same on the very edge of the cup, on both edges. Okay, now we got some good texture and variety going on. Let's go to our next color, the very darkest one on this row, fifth one in line. We'll lower our size maybe a little bit to like 2%, and we're just going to go right through this very like peaked area to really deepen up that shadow there. Go over it a few times. Again, maybe just like 2/3 of the way down and then kind of let it fade out. Same thing here. You can get a little wider at the top and then kind of fade out. Beautiful. While we're on this color, let's go ahead and add a slight little shadow around like the base of our handle there. Very lightly. I'm not pushing hard at all. Just do maybe a little bit right next to both of those. Something like that. That looks great. And then that is it for our main teacup until we come in and do our fancy little design to it, but we'll do that later. We'll just keep on going down our layers still. So next up is our tea layer. Let's click on that layer, turn on Alpha Lock. And our tea color was this first one on the second row. We have 2 lighter and then 2 kind of darker colors as well. So let's go ahead with our second color on the second row to start, and we'll maybe increase our size a little bit to like 3 or 4%. And with this first lighter color, I'm just going to go towards the center, not touching the edges. So the edges will stay kind of darker. So I'm just going through the center here kind of horizontally. Nothing too crazy, just a little layer there. Then we'll go on to our third color on the second row, and then we'll kind of brighten up some areas. So I'll just pick a few spots and kind of just, again, working mainly horizontally, not touching the edge. I'll just brighten up a couple, just select little sections really, where our light is like reflecting off the liquid. So kind of something like this. Okay, then we have our darker color, fourth one on the second row, and we're going to go kind of from the edges a little bit. So on the whatever edge we can kind of see, so like the left and right and top a little bit. And then I'll be honest, this fifth color, I have no idea what it is. It's like lighter than that one that we were just on, so I don't know. Throw a little of that in there, I guess. So I'm not really sure how that got added, but I don't think we actually need it. But then that's it for our tea. Boom, done. Quick and easy. Okay, next layer is this kind of like back darker teacup interior layer. So click on that layer and turn on Alpha Lock. Symmetry should not be turned on. And let's see, that was with our second color on the bottom row. So we're just gonna use the slightly darker one is all to add a little texture back there. So the fifth one on the bottom row. And we'll go to maybe 3 or 4%. And I'm just going to kind of go in these concaved areas again and add a little bit there, all the way around there, leaving the peaks kind of lighter. So again, just kind of going a little extra hard in the very, very middles there to really deepen that up. But that looks good. That's all we're doing back there. Okay, next layer up is our gold bottom layer. So let's go ahead and click on that layer, turn on alpha lock, click on it again, turn drawing assist off. And again, our gold colors. So let's start with our 7th one on the 2nd row. And let's see, we're going to have it be darker near the base of the cup. So I'm just going to go maybe like halfway through, kind of round it this way a little bit, halfway through, and then up to the cup. Next color, set 8th one on the 2nd row. Same thing, closer to the cup now to create a deeper color there. Now our lighter color, 9th one on the 2nd row, and we'll do the bottom edge, following our curve. And then our bright yellowy color, last one on the 2nd row, and we'll just kind of poke this in mainly around the bottom edge, get a little bit of shine going there. Probably just like on the edges. We'll do something kind of like that, maybe a little bit right there, just to add a few different pieces of it. That looks great. Now we move on. Next one is our next gold rim for our plate. So let's click on that one, turn on alpha lock, click on it again, turn drawing assist off, and we will do the same colors we just used. Again, we'll do it like a little, again, structured, where the back side will have shadows in the concaved part, the front side will have shadows in the peaked part. So let's just grab our 7th color on the 2nd row. We're at like 3 or 4%. And let's just do it all at the same time. This time I know this top one we like did the back side and then switch to the front side. Let's just do all the darker parts. So on the back side, again, that will be where the concaved parts are. So like right here, whatever we can see of these other pieces that swoop around to the back side. And then like right here up to the right edge. Okay, and then we'll do the fronts as well. So this will be the peaked parts. So again, starting at the peak, going out on each side a little bit. Working vertically. Okay, next darker color, 8th one on the 2nd row. Same thing, just again, deepen up the middle parts of those, whatever you can see of those back pieces, and then to the right and left edge. And then again, right through the middle of the peaks on the front. Beautiful. Now we can switch to our lighter color, 9th one on the 2nd row. And again, peaks on the back and concaved parts or rounded parts on the front. Again, vertically. Beautiful. And then we have our gold color, last one on the 2nd row. So again, right through the very middles of the back peak pieces that we highlighted, and then through the kind of centers of our front curved pieces that we added highlights to. And then we can just go through and kind of brighten some areas up again. So I'm just going to kind of touch some sections, not always going like all the way through, but sometimes going all the way through. Kind of something like that. Layer menu. Let's see. Our next layer is the one that we turned off earlier. So let's turn it back on. Click on it and turn on alpha lock. No drawing assist should be turned on. Okay, so now we're going to do quite a bit here to really get this to look right. So again, we started with our first color on the last row. We have a slightly darker one, so let's grab that. Second one on the last row. Same brush at like 3 or 4%. And let's start by first making a shadow around the base of our mug with this. Okay. Then we're also going to add shadows anywhere where it's concaved in the back and kind of like coming towards the bottom of the plate or the middle of the plate. So kind of in that motion there. And then maybe just some other like shadows like here and here. Just kind of all around like this, like, you know, where it concaves in. I know this one's kind of weird. And then we'll even just add like a little bit of texture through these really light pieces just to add a little bit more texture to them. Kind of strange, this one. But it'll get better it'll get better. Okay, but there's just some good variety going. Let's grab our third color on this last row and add a little bit more variety with that as well. But again, just kind of in random spots, like maybe that we didn't touch with our shadow a whole lot. But again, we're just kind of adding some texture. Okay. Now we'll skip over this brightest color and just go straight to our darkest color, 5th one on the bottom row, drop our size a little bit to like 2%. And again, we'll kind of deepen up a shadow that's coming from this peak here and the peak next to it. We'll deepen up our shadow right around our teacup a little bit more, right at the very base there. Deepen up like a little piece coming from here and here. And we can't really see one here, but if there was one here, we can kind of just go around it a little bit. And then we're just going to add the slightest little shadow right next to the rim on the right side here, not going to the very edge. So there's a gap where it's a little bit lighter, but just a little bit of a shadow there to kind of show like the roundness of it. Nothing back here. And then same thing on this side though, a little bit of a shadow next to the edge to show the roundness, but not going to the edge. So that kind of is our plate there. A little messy looking, but that's okay. Looks good. Looks structured is kind of the idea. Go back in with any of your other colors. I might go back in with my lighter color a little bit here. Kind of fix some stuff back up. Okay, next layer down is our bottom layer with just that little piece of our plate on the bottom. So click on that, turn on Alpha Lock, click on it again, turn Drawing Assist off. And let's start with our second color on the bottom row. So the whole thing is going to kind of be in shadow, so I'm actually just going to go over the whole thing with this darker color, and you can like go through it and it'll still like leave some texture, so that's fine. Then we'll go to our darkest color, the 5th one on the bottom row, and we'll add some actual kind of shadows. So right kind of through here, we'll kind of add some shadows branching down to the bottom. Maybe it's a little darker on the bottom where it hits our tabletop. Maybe it's a little darker in here. Something kind of like that to add a little bit more structure to it, but for the most part, it's all a little bit darker there. Awesome. Now we just need to add some more of a shadow around the bottom of our plate here on our tabletop. So let's go back to our tabletop layer. Alpha Lock's already turned on. Let's grab our darkest brown color, 6th one on the top row. Same brush, and we'll set our size to like 5% or so. And kind of just go right next to it here to really deepen up that shadow there where the plate's touching and kind of just like cast a shadow from the plate itself. So really deepen that up there, going horizontally. Pick up your brush a couple times to really deepen it up at the very, very base. And then that looks great. Okay, so we are moving and grooving right along here. This is looking awesome. So let's go ahead now, and the last things that we need to do are add our design, add our steam, and then add a little kind of like darker frame to it. So let's go ahead and add our design now. So to do that, we're going to go right above our main teacup layer, click on it and set it to a clipping mask, and then click the N and set it to multiply. So then we're going to grab our green color, 6th one on the bottom row, or you can mess around with other options of colors. You could use like just like a darker cream color or like a maroon color. Any of those would be really pretty, but we're going to use this green. And then we're going to switch our brush to the dry ink brush under the inking category to do this. My size is at like 10%, and I'm just going to go through and kind of create some quick little like stems, just kind of in random spots through our picture. And if you want to, you can kind of try to work with like the curves, but you don't necessarily have to. Having this layer on multiply means that we can get some of the like textures from the background. So you don't really have to do anything. I'll have some even kind of come up from the bottom, but yeah, I'm just kind of creating a stem and then some like ovals off of it to create the leaves. So we'll do a few there. Maybe we'll do like one going up here. You'll have one kind of coming down from the rim, just a small little bit there that we see. Maybe we'll have kind of one going off the edge over here. Maybe another little bit coming up from the bottom. And maybe a little tiny piece coming in from like the side over here. So just kind of a good variety of some pieces here. to kind of fill this out. Okay, and then if you don't want it to be quite as dark, you can click the M on this layer and drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe like 70 to 80% to just kind of lessen the effect of it. If you wish to, I might do that, make it a little fainter. But that looks awesome. Feel free to also just do any other design that you want. You can like kind of follow the scallops. You can do like little dots and patterns and stuff. You can do flowers, whatever you want to do. Okay, so last up is the steam and the little kind of gradient around the edges. So let's go ahead and add the steam to the very top of our layers. So new layer at the very top. Let's grab our lightest color, fourth one on the bottom row, and we're going to switch to our soft brush under the airbrushing category. I'm going to have my opacity really low at 50% and my size at maybe 10. And we're just going to kind of come up from the center here with a little bit of steam. Kind of come up in a few different spots. I'll make a few bigger ones and then I'll lower my size a little bit to like 5%. And we'll maybe just do some kind of smaller pieces kind of floating above it as well. So something kind of like that. And then even though I was pushing really light and my opacity is really low, it's a little too bright for me. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, click the N on this layer and drag it down quite a bit as well to like 60% or so. Very, very faint little bit of steam. Okay, 2 more layers to go. Let's add a layer right above our tabletop layer, below all of our other layers. Click the N on this layer and set it to multiply. Grab our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab again at 30%, and our color is going to be this last one on the top row, 7th in line. And we're just going to draw a perfect circle around everything. So a nice, good, perfect circle. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Pretty good size, but we don't want it going off the edge at all. So just whatever size it's at now, good. Grab it with your arrow tool. You can resize it on uniform if you need to. And then we're just going to center it from left to right and from top to bottom. So you should see 2 yellow lines snapping you to the center there. And we just want to see just a little bit on the edges here. So I might make it a little bit bigger still and recenter it so there's just this smidge little bit showing on the top, right, left, and bottom. And then we're going to drag and drop and fill in the outside of this wand icon. Gaussian blur, drag this up a good ways to maybe like 40% so we get that good blur around it. And if it's encroaching a little too much, you can still grab it with your arrow tool, upsize it some more, recenter it, and then you kind of lessen the effect of that, of what comes into your picture. Okay, and then the very, very last thing to bring it home, we're going to add one more layer right above our layer 1, which was our background. Click the N on this layer and set it to overlay. Grab our first color on the last row, our kind of creamy color, back to our soft brush, and up the size a bit to maybe 20%. And I'm just going to add like a little bit of a light around the cup here to kind of lighten that whole little bit up there and make it a little bit brighter is all. So you can take that or leave it. If you turn it off, you can kind of see, but I think it just kind of adds to, you know, the effect of this being like the main part of our picture. So feel free to add that if you would like to. Otherwise, when we are done with that, I'm going to turn off our drawing guide, and that is it for our drawing today. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you liked the way that yours turned out, and I hope that you maybe learned something new. If you had fun, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future tutorials. And if you would like to share a drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.